In 2017, the Conjuring universe released a prequel to the prequel with Annabelle Creation, this time going even further back to the creation of the doll and showing us that creepy things have surrounded this thing even before the events of the first film. But does this one deliver an improved experience from its predecessor? What's up everyone, I'm Trap, I love movies, and today we're talking about Annabelle Creation. This one again was written by Gary Dauberman, but this time directed by David F. Sandberg, who also directed Lights Out and Until Dawn. I'll go over my pros and cons as well as my own personal rating, all spoiler free here, but if you've seen the movie, stick around to the very end, I'll get into a spoiler chat where we can really get into this thing. So the film starts off in 1943 with doll maker Samuel Mullins, his wife Esther, and their daughter Annabelle. After little Annabelle unfortunately decides to hitch a ride on the front of a fast-moving truck, we fast forward to 1955. Samuel and Esther are nice enough to open up their home to a nun and 6 young girls who have recently become homeless due to their orphanage shutting down. It doesn't take long before creepy things start to unfold for these innocent children. But let's get right into it. The good stuff. Alright, much like its predecessor, this film definitely nails the period piece. From the clothing, to the interior design of the house, to the vehicles, even down to little things we see like the wheelchair and the tools in that shed. It all forms a really grounded visual and rich atmosphere that leaves us no question about what time period we're in. There are some genuinely creepy and suspenseful moments here that really get you in tune with the fear and terror that these children are experiencing. This makeshift orphanage setting really gives us a stronger emotional backbone compared to the first film, especially with Janice's disability and the overall group dynamic of the girls. We're provided with characters who, for the most part, we can really care about the outcome for. If you've seen some of my other films, you know I'm definitely not a fan typically of child actors, but I have to say that the cast we got here actually pulls off some really great acting across the board. Everyone sells the fear and emotions they're directed to portray really well. And now, the bad stuff. Though I mentioned there are some genuinely creepy moments in this film, there are, of course, some generic, typical, and predictable jump scares at play here too. It's to be expected from this franchise, I know, but the third act of the film starts to rely on them exclusively, and I'm just burned out on it. The exposition of reasoning for the events taking place in this film is so abrupt and force-fed to us, it's honestly hilarious. It's not to say the story is bad, it's a little typical, but not bad. But at this point, it kind of starts a downhill slide for me as the rest of the film starts to feel really rushed, like they just needed to wrap this thing up quick. There's some secondary characters that don't really get enough development. There are 2 orphans specifically that feel completely underwritten and aren't really given any weight. To be honest, I couldn't even tell you their names without looking it up. They get almost no screen time, and one of the 2, I don't even know if they have a line in the entire movie. They just feel completely unnecessary to the narrative. For me, Annabelle Creation lands as a strong, mid-tier horror film. It doesn't redefine the genre or anything crazy like that, but it does do what a lot of horror movies fail at. Create atmosphere, build characters, and make the viewers care. It also greatly improved on the original Annabelle, which left me optimistic about the trajectory of this franchise at the time. I'm gonna give this one 3.5 out of 5. It's a solid origin story. There's some decent scares, it's got a few flaws, but overall, I enjoy rewatching this one occasionally. But hey, that's just me. What did you think of Annabelle Creation? Let me know down in the comments, let's talk about this. If you're new here, welcome. You can check out all my other Conjuring Universe reviews right up here. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It would really help this brand new channel grow. Really appreciate it. Alright, that's my spoiler-free take. If you haven't seen the movie, go check it out, come on back, and we can really have some more fun with this. There's your warning. Okay, so the film starts us off literally seeing the creation of this doll, and dollmaker Samuel following a little trail of notes with childish handwriting on them like we've all seen before. Nice touch. We soon get a horrific tragedy of the loss of Annabelle when she gets plowed by a truck. Why is this guy driving so dang fast right by a guy changing a tire? So it becomes obvious very early on that grief and probably guilt are going to play heavy themes in this movie moving forward. After getting introduced to our cast of orphans and Sister Charlotte, we definitely see the toll that it's taken on Samuel. He seems distant, cold, and gives off a no-tolerance, angry vibe. This all helps deliver a bit more substance and weight to the theme, and helps take this a bit further emotionally for viewers than just a batch of new creepy doll scares. In good old Conjuring fashion, we get a really nice, long, single-take shot introducing us to the house and the girls that I felt was really nicely put together. It doesn't take long for creepy things to start happening either. When our polio-affected Janice realizes that Annabelle's old room is unlocked, she starts to snoop. This is the scene that really stuck with me after first seeing this film in theaters, and when I think about this film, this is the part that comes to mind. From the lighting to the sound design to what the camera shows and hides from us in play with timing, the scene is just simply awesome. When Janice turns to exit the room and realize she's trapped in that corner, and the figure under the sheet starts walking towards her, you kind of expect the sheet to just kind of fall flat to the ground or something like that. But the way the figure's feet are pulling the sheet down with every step really brings the tension and suspense, and when we finally see that there's nothing underneath it, perfect. We do get a pretty decent amount of obvious foreshadowing in the beginning of the film, which kind of feels a bit on the nose. Things like the stair lift, the scarecrow in the shed, the dumbwaiter, things like that. But I'm sure most viewers aren't typically looking for or noticing things like that anyways. It's not terrible. Another good scene, in my opinion, is where our kind of co-lead, Linda, finds the space underneath the stairs when she's hiding from the other girls. She sees the doll kind of sitting over there in a chair, and behind it, a goat-like face starts to appear above it, masked almost completely by darkness. After it fades back into the darkness, the chair slides back and forms a jump scare that I actually don't mind. What sets this jump scare apart from like 99% of other jump scares for me personally is the use of silence. Everyone and their jumpy mother always frames these things exactly the same. There's a build-up in the score, a slow pan or zoom onto an item or person, complete dead silence, count to 3, and then loud noise. What's worse is more often than not, if it's in the first half of a film, it's usually a fake out too. This scene gets quiet before she even turns the corner and sees the doll. If these directors and editors could just slow down and realize that building actual tension can produce fear in people and not just splooge out a loud noise into our ear holes after 2 or 3 seconds of silence, people might just find your movies scary. Anyways, moving on. We get a few more moments of note, one being the 2 older girls under the sheet in the room on the floor, and they see Esther in the room, and to only later find out that she hasn't walked in years. Kind of a predictable jump scare there, but the further knowledge after the fact was kind of nice. Then we get another scene of Janice in Annabelle's room, and she actually gets attacked this time. I'm not a fan of the face-changing jump scare tactic we got there, or not even really the weird smoke pouring out of the room afterwards. But the remainder of this sequence is crafted really well. We get our payoff of the foreshadowing earlier of the stair lift, and even though most of us saw that coming, it really does a good job of building up feelings of impending doom. When the chair stops, you start feeling for her, but when it starts going back up, you know she's screwed. Where you kind of expect her to be struggling with that seatbelt, but get out just in time before the creepy thing reaches her, she actually gets shot up into the air and then brutally dropped down to the first floor ground. Roll credits. For me, that was a nice subversion of expectations. Anyways, as the story progresses, we see that Janice is now being possessed by this demon, and we see the unfortunate demise of Samuel. Right after he started showing some emotion too. Dang it. When Linda throws the doll down the well and it's immediately back inside laying on the couch, Sister Charlotte goes in to have a little chat with Esther. This is kind of where the movie starts to fall apart for me. This exposition is ridiculous. With a simple question from Charlotte like, "What are you talking about?" Esther just rambles off everything we need to know about why these things are happening so we can wrap this thing up and get out of here quick. Everything following that scene to me feels weak, rushed, and predictable. Like, hey, look, that scarecrow from earlier is outside now. Look, now it's moving its head. Wait, now it's gone. Let's go check it out. Whoops, I'm locked in. Uh-oh, the lights are going out. I'd better climb this ladder and tighten in this bulb, even amidst all these spooky things going on. Oh, demon! Ugh. We do get a bit of gore aftermath, which was a bit of a surprise for this franchise. Esther, off screen of course, got totally ripped in half. Hamburger, not hot dog. And we see the gory result of that. Real quick, I will say, I do enjoy the approach they took in directing the possessed performance of Janice. If she went all Reagan and demonic screams and crawling around, it would have absolutely ruined the ending of this movie for me. I like that they didn't dive headfirst into all that and just had her demeanor and attitude change for the worse. Speaking of conclusion, I don't rewatch this movie too often, and I had honestly forgotten all about the ending and the prologue prior to this recent rewatch. Through the entirety of the film, I kept thinking, wait, does this movie just overwrite everything in the first film? Does it just happen to correlate to two different people named Annabelle? But the movie not only wraps up Janice's story in a nice and not typical way, we even get a decent little touch that can slightly enhance the beginning of the first film, giving it just a little bit more context there than we originally got. So the connection they added in there was a nice touch, in my opinion. So overall, I'd say this is a much better spin-off than we got with the original Annabelle film. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a much more enjoyable watch than the original. I feel like if they didn't drag with the pacing in the first half of the movie, they wouldn't have had to rush the ending so much, and that's honestly my biggest gripe with this film. But it's a fun movie that I'll be happy to revisit occasionally. Alright, that's all I got. Again, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. You can check out my review on the first Annabelle film here, and I've got a playlist going with all these other Conjuring Universe flicks. And remember, if you find a creepy doll locked in a closet, you're probably the next victim. See you guys next time.